rivals go head-to-head this weekend when the Pirates face the Cubs at Wrigley.
Swing and a miss. He stuck him out.
The pregame at 3 Eastern, first pitch at 4. Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app. ESPN Radio. This is the Thundering Herd Podcast.
So I'm driving to work this morning. I'm thinking to myself, boy, I got a couple of big stories here I could lead the show with. I'll tell you what, I watched that Cavaliers-Celtics game. I love LeBron.
Tebow.
Boy, I could talk about the NBA playoffs. Those NBA playoff games were very good this weekend.
Tebow.
I gotta leave the show with Tebow. I really do. I gotta leave the show with Tebow. I can talk about a lot of stuff, but I gotta leave the show with Tebow. And first of all, the NFL has always been a party crowd. Okay, they come without invitation, knock on the door. They've always been the party crasher of all the pro leagues. Don't you think it's a little suspect? Opening weekend of the NBA playoffs. Oh!
Tebow.
Yeah.
Tebow.
Yeah.
Tebow.
Chip Kelly signs Tim Tebow to a contract. Now, this is about as close as I get to Sasquatch believer, but the NFL acknowledged. They admitted they called teams on Michael Sam. The NFL, you should know this, has the schedule done. It'll be released this week, draft next week. They don't have to release it this week. There's no reason to release the NBA playoffs. There's no reason to move free agency. They did. The combine, they did. The draft, they did. They're the party crashers. They always have been. They've had an unbelievable sense of real estate. This is something I've talked about for years. Baseball is blind to it. The NFL, I mean, they're like Coldwell Banker on real estate. You know, Berkshire Hathaway. They have always understood there's 12 months, own as much as you can, stretch the league out, and the NFL schedule is done right now. It was done a week ago. What are they doing? They pass it around to a handful of owners, and they wait to drop it on the perfect day. And I just thought it was very interesting of all the times to bring in this guy, whether it's a Christian following, the good looks, he's the anti-bad boy athlete, whatever it is with Tebow that works, his collegiate fandom, I don't know. But I thought it was very interesting that entered our psyche yesterday. They have played the real estate game forever in the NFL, and I thought it was incredibly suspicious. Now, as far as Tebow goes, I find that in the media, and last week I consumed media, I was not really part of it. And one of the things I've always found with the media, because I don't trust the media any more than you don't trust the media, is it doesn't really matter production-wise. They're not interested in production. The media is interested in their narrative. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's productive, who's not. Anderson Cooper, nice guy, doesn't get ratings. Bill O'Reilly does. Anderson Cooper's on the cover of every magazine every year. Bill O'Reilly's not. Production's irrelevant. One gets numbers, one doesn't. Doesn't matter. The media likes one, doesn't like the other. It's not a political statement, it's the truth. Same with Jay Leno. The media didn't like Jay Leno. They didn't think he was coastal enough. They liked Letterman, whose ratings have sagged for 5 years. They like other people. Jay Leno, they like Conan. Conan can't get a number. NBC or the network he's on now. Leno got ratings. The last day he was on was the highest day he'd been rated in years. The media didn't like him. Production becomes irrelevant. The media has their story to tell. I find it funny with Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly was an unbelievably dynamic college coach, comes to the NFL, where if you don't have a good quarterback, you get fired. He's gone 10-6 and 10-6 with Nick Foles and Mark Sanchez. Bill Belichick got fired when he didn't have Tom Brady. If you don't have a quarterback in this league, you're done. You're fired. It's over. Chip Kelly goes 10-6, 10-6 in the better NFC. He is succeeding. And yet the narrative is he doesn't know what he's doing. It's a circus. He's out of control. He's winning in a league where you can't last if you don't have a top quarterback. He's got Sanchez and Nick Foles. He's 20-12. But again, no, the media doesn't care about production. The narrative is Chip Kelly's crazy. No, he's not. Chip Kelly signing Tebow is exactly 2 years ago when he came into this league. I went on the air. I'd been told this by 2 Pac-12 coaches. Chip Kelly told people when he was in college, you know how coaches meet, coaches meetings, NCAA meetings, midfield before games, and coaches talk. Chip Kelly had told people in the Pac-12, if I go to the NFL, I'm going to have 4 or 5 quarterbacks because I believe with my offense I can win with any running back and any quarterback. I'm going to spend my money on defense. Well, what did Chip Kelly, what's he done first couple of years? It's about spending money on defense and bringing in more quarterbacks. Bradford, Foles, Sanchez, drafted a Matt Barkley, Tim Tebow. It's not a shock. And by the way, Adam Schefter said it. He's not done. He wants Mariota.
There's also speculation here about whether or not they still could be players for Marcus Mariota. There are still people who believe they can be. We'll find out whether or not that happens a week from Thursday in the NFL draft. But right now, the Eagles are expected to have Bradford and Sanchez and Matt Barkley and Tebow going to the offseason program.
What is he doing? Exactly what I told you he told coaches he would do. 10-6, 10-6, money's on defense. They've massively upgraded their defense this year. And he believes in sort of a revolving door quarterback thing where he can win a lot of games regardless of quarterback. But I find this. I trust the media less and less every year because they don't have any interest in production. They really don't. What is their narrative? I've said this before. It's like politics. Why politics is such a turnoff to me. I voted for Reagan. I voted for Clinton. It doesn't matter. The other party, the opposing party, will never give the other party credit. It doesn't matter. Stock market has tripled under Obama. Housing market's up big. Gas prices plummet. 91% of Americans' health insurance. He stinks. Really? Took over the worst economy in my lifetime. Stinks? If Romney did that, you'd be like, he's a financial guru. It doesn't matter. People have their narrative. They don't want to get it right. They want to be right. And so, to me, with Chip Kelly, this is exactly what he told everybody he was going to do. Now, as I've said before with Tebow, great kid, nicest guy in the world. He'll never be a franchise quarterback. And to that, I mean a 10-year keys to the franchise, draft around him, build around him, acquire around him, get your coaches around him. He's Brady, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson. We're all in. Tony Romo. He's never going to be that guy. You got to get over that. He's not. But that doesn't mean I can't have a sports car in the garage. I can't drive it in the winter. I got 6 kids. I'm taking them to soccer practice. It's not my SUV, but I can have a sports car in the garage. I can have one of those rocket motorcycles in the garage. Tim Tebow at the goal line, I can have him on the roster. I'm not anti-Tebow on the roster. I'm just anti-building my franchise around him. Dune buggies are a lot of fun. Let's go pop some wheelies in the sand dunes.
So amped up, dude.
But I'm not building my – it's not the leader in my garage. So I've never been anti. I've said before, to have a guy that's that good of a guy that works that hard in the weight room, and I think the media stuff, I think it's died down. I don't think it's going to create the circus it did before. I just don't think it will. I think it'll always create some. He's good looking, the Christian faith, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, I'm not anti him as a person, nor am I anti him on a roster. Put him on the punt team. Have him do goal line stuff. Belichick's mastered this whole situational offensive stuff where he brings in certain personnel. A couple of years ago, Belichick drafted a rugby player from Ohio State. He did. The kid played rugby at Ohio State, then he got on the football team. Belichick's like, we'll put him on special teams. So there's a place for Tebow in this league. Good guy.
Tebow.
Yeah.
Tebow.
Yeah, I'll get to the NBA
Tebow.
playoffs later in the show. I had the
Tebow.
lead with Tebow.
Colin Cowherd. Looking good. Well, looking okay.
The Thundering Herd Podcast.
It's hard for me to unplug with my personality. It's just I've never been a guy that can unplug totally. I got to be doing stuff. My wife's the same way. We just get up early and, we go to bed early. We get up early. That's our personalities. But last week I unplugged about as much as I can. It did include lots of drinking and doing nothing and napping. I took several naps a day. And that's about as much as I can do. But I missed it. I'm not going to lie. By about Thursday, I was like, all right, time to go back on the air and talk. I missed you. Okay, so first of all, NBA playoffs start. I'm going to get back to Tebow in a second, but I got to talk about this. It kind of freaked my staff out this morning. One of my I like some guys in the NBA. I've always liked guys that don't get the credit they deserve in all sports. The guy that really doesn't get – I've always thought Paul Pierce is a great player. A really, really all-time great player. But we're not going to mention Paul Pierce, and he's not Kobe and he's not LeBron, but, man, he's really, really good. He's going to, he's going to be one of my 50. I'd put him in my top 50 all-time NBA players. Most people wouldn't. I think Paul Pierce is great. Once again, it's not John Wall. It's not Bradley Beal. When Washington wins in the playoffs, once again, it's a veteran that stands up, Pierce the Dagger. But it's interesting because he talked about he doesn't play the minutes he used to, but he's in really good shape and he can play great baseball in spurts. And he talked about the hyperbaric chamber. He sleeps in it for 2 to 3 hours before home games, the hyperbaric chamber. And Kevin Garnett introduced him to it. Now, this is something we'll have the bites later, but Bill Romanowski's talked about this on the show. He believes years from now we'll find out it's the only thing that really helps with concussions. But I went online and I looked at these pictures of the hyperbaric chamber. And Paul Pierce even said, he goes, the first time I tried it, I felt like I was suffocating. There was no air. Now I'm so used to it, I'm asleep in a matter of minutes. So the guys went and got a picture of what Paul Pierce is using, and I don't even like sleeping bags. Like, I think sleeping bags, I feel confined. And I told the guys, if you gave me $1,000, I would not sleep. I would not take a nap in a hyperbaric chamber. It freaks me out. I can't have my head covered. And when we did the last Sports Nation, I used to do a show called Sports Nation, and they did an old man mask for me. And it was the most frightening thing I've gone through in my adult life. And at one point, I had this big mask on. I could see and breathe, but only through my nose. And at one point, they said, knock if you need out. And I had to knock. I tapped out. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm going to suffocate. And they had to break open the mask. And it ruined the whole thing. And I don't know, Jamie Horowitz was a producer, was there. And I'm like, dude, I can't do it. I cannot have something surrounding my head. I can't be encapsulated. I can't do it. And so this morning, like tanning beds. I remember when tanning beds were popular. I remember it must have been 20 years ago in Vegas. Like, who goes to a tanning bed in Vegas? Me. And I went to a tanning bed, and I sat in there for like 30 seconds, and I'm like, get me out of here. This is awful. Like, it's like 1 inch from your face. So there is no way in the world. It's like 2 words for you. Buried alive. I could not even for 10 minutes.
Colin, all you have to do is go to sleep. It's not that difficult.
Dude, you have to zip something up.
No, the one Paul Pierce uses, the one that you would use, very high end, I imagine. It's a glass chamber. You can see out of it. You're not that you're confined, but you can see your surroundings.
Yeah, you can see the reflection of you suffocating to death.
You want to know what's funny? You're in a glass enclosed area right now.
I can open the door. I'm fine.
Yeah, and you can open it. You'll be sleeping.
You know when Army plays Navy? I root for Army just because of submarines. I root against Navy for that. I couldn't be in a submarine. I can't be in a sleeping bag.
I think you're just talking yourself out of it. You easily could.
No, could not.
This is like me saying I can't eat broccoli. Yes, I can.
No.
Yes, you can. You just don't want to.
No, but my body neurologically, physiologically, something freaks out when you cover my head.
Would you feel claustrophobic on a cruise ship because you couldn't get off of it?
I wouldn't like it. Wouldn't like it. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not. Especially when the heating and cooling system goes belly up and you're out there for like 9 days battling scurvy.
All right, how about the next time you lose a bet, which is probably in the next few weeks because you never win them, we put you in a hyperbaric chamber.
No way, God, no. I don't even like...
All right, you said you wouldn't bungee jump even though you've already bungee jumped, and now you won't go to sleep? All you have to do is close your eyes and rest.
I'm 50. I'm done with the wacky FM radio stunts, okay? You guys are trying to suck me into these wacky stunts. I'm done with them.
We're trying to suck you into a chamber. That's what we're trying to do.
By the way, I guarantee I got 1,000 people online. Couldn't do it either. I can't.
You can't go to sleep?
In a zipped-up chamber? No chance. None. Now, Bill Romanowski told us he thinks they're the future of sports and athletes.
We're going to find out 10 years from now it's the only thing that will heal the brain from a concussion. We will find that out. And I was doing it 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But it's not the norm.
Now, I've heard guys like Kobe and Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, everybody that uses them raves about them. I couldn't do it. And I've seen some of these high-end things are like X-ray machines, but they're enclosed. Oh, God, no. Oh, not in and by the way, Romo is such a wacko. I love him. He took it a step further.
My dog had a torn ACL. What? We put him in the hyperbaric instead of getting the dog operated on. How'd it work? Great. He was healed in 2 months.
Remember we had the astronaut on the show? Remember the astronaut guy came on? And my first question to him is, Don't you ever freak out up there? I'm like, holy hell, I'm a billion miles from like an Applebee's. Don't you? No, we had that guy on the show, and I was like, don't you freak out up there? He's like, no, you kind of get used to it. I'm like, you're in space in an Advil. You're in a little capsule, and oh, I couldn't do it.
Dude, you just sleep, and then you wake up, and you get out of the chamber. All you have to do is sleep. That's it. Just go close, like lay down.
You can't sleep when your heart's beating a million miles an hour. Do people think I'm a
Take
big
an
wussy?
Ambien. Let's go.
Do people think I'm a big wussy on this? I can't do it. I'm claustrophobic. I don't like it. You know, the other thing about this Tebow argument, Tebow now signs a one-year deal as a four-string quarterback for the Eagles. You know, a lot of this Tebow thing is funny. You know, guys like to be right, not get it right. I think a lot of it comes down to this. Because as soon as Tebow signed yesterday, I went on Twitter and I put, Eagles win the Super Bowl, just to be a ridiculous clown. And people all freaked out, and they were all laughing. Most of the audience got it, you know. But I think a lot of it is people lined up with a Tim Tebow draft first round. You were either for him or it wasn't going to work. You were like, going to be a star, not going to be a star. And he obviously was not a star. In fact, let me look at the numbers here. He completed 47% of his passes, and his quarterback rating was 37. It was a disaster. Now, he went on a winning streak because of their defense and Matt Prater's field goals in Denver. But, I mean, last year there were 95 quarterbacks, counting the scout team, that were on rosters. He wasn't one of them. He hasn't completed a pass since 2012, like December of 2012. But I think a lot of Tebow, that guys like to argue sports, and they like to be right. And every time Tebow gets an opportunity, all the guys that whiffed on him being a star, they're like, see, I told you so. See, I told you so. No, you lost the argument. He can be part of a franchise, but you can't build your franchise. I mean, Matt Barkley plays for the Eagles, and I know Matt. Matt's not a starting franchise NFL quarterback. He doesn't have a big enough arm. He doesn't have the athletic ability. I don't think he has the physical makeup of what you need to be an NFL starting quarterback. But you can have him on a roster. He's a good dude. Actually, Barkley and Tebow are very similar. Deep faith, super nice guys, hard workers, incredibly coachable, great to have around a locker room, limited skill set. I think your roster as a whole, Tebow can make it better. I mean, listen, John Crotty was on NBA rosters, and he couldn't guard a bar stool. But you thought you could bring him in and he could hit a three-pointer. Now John Crotty's a basketball announcer somewhere in the NBA. There's a lot of guys I'd take on my roster. I'm just not building around him. I'll never build around Tebow. But I think a lot of the Tebow fascination is it's guys who lost the initial argument, and they feel like they win it every time he signs a one-year deal. You lost the argument. He's not a franchise guy. He's never going to be.
You're in the Herd, the Thundering Herd podcast.
Dave McMenamin's been covering the Cavs all year, did the Sunday conversation with LeBron. All right, you sit down in a room with LeBron. He doesn't do a lot of these, Dave. You cover him, and he doesn't do a lot of these. What is your takeaway after that interview with LeBron?
Well, Colin, I think, part of the reason the conversation is behind that conversation, we were talking all year about certain issues, and one of them, I think the MVP race got under his skin a little bit, and the fact that Russell Westbrook, as you just mentioned, and James Harden, Stephen Curry, Anthony Davis were getting so much pub and attention and publicity, and his campaign almost became an afterthought from midway through the season on. And I think which he very clearly stated to me in the interview, he wants to let everybody know that he's not going anywhere. He's still at the top of his game, and he has no intention of losing any grip on that position for the foreseeable future.
When I watch the Cavs, increasingly, I think they're going to dust the rest of the East. You've watched them all year. I don't know what clicked in mid to late January, but I watched them yesterday, and I think Boston's incredibly well coached. I felt like they were toying with the Celtics. Am I wrong?
I don't know if I would call it toying. The one thing, and as you mentioned, Kyrie's such a great shot maker, the Cavs are kind of a streaky team. So I think at one point they started off the game 9 for 24. In that same span, Boston was 15 for 24, or 14 for 24, and then they had an 8-point lead. Then all of a sudden, the Cavs make 8 of their next 12 shots. 4 of them are three-pointers, and the game's totally turned. And I think that three-point shooting weapon in particular is what makes them so dangerous, where maybe you could say toying, or maybe it's just getting your shots calibrated. And once you do and they start falling, especially with the penetrators that they have, they're creating those open looks from three-point land. It's really tough to imagine any team being able to guard them consistently in a 7-game series.
Dave McMenamin covered LeBron all year. You know, the Kevin Love thing is funny. You know, Kobe Bryant was aloof, and we never had a problem with it. Kevin Love is aloof, and everybody's like, whoa, Kevin Love's difficult. No, he's just aloof. There's all sorts of people listening to my show that are loners, and Kevin Love's a little bit of his own guy. Right now, today, this second, yesterday's game, LeBron, Kevin Love. Did Love feel like, okay, this thing could work?
I think he would have to feel that way because not only did they get the win, and if he's going to be a man of his word, he said just 3 days ago that the only thing that matters to him going into this playoff run is they continue their winning ways. But they got him inside touches, and this is something that he's been pleading for off and on the last several months. Not only did they get those inside touches, when Kevin converted them and either got to the foul line or he had a couple layups down low, they celebrated him. They pounded on his chest. They tapped him in the head. They let him know, with that feelings of affirmation that they appreciate what he's doing and what he's about. And you could say that he has all the money in the world and the fame, and those things don't matter, but he's still human. And to feel that connection to his teammates, to be up there on the podium joking with Kyrie and LeBron post-game, the first time they've done a joint press conference all year long, that has to mean something to him as a person.
Dave McMenamin does a great job. Sunday conversation with LeBron. Good talking to you, bud.
Thanks, Colin.
You bet.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
This Chris Bryant, I'll tell you, baseball's got something going right now, is that there's a lot of interesting stories. There really are. I mean, one of the things I've knocked baseball for is you got to create stars. People like stars. Hell, the Kardashians are big stars in this country. They don't have a talent. Chris Bryant is one of those guys where I'm like, oh, I want to see his at-bats. Matt Harvey pitches. I want to see him. Yasiel, that's why I always knock baseball fans. Yasiel Puig was a circus. The circus is fun, right? Other than how they treat elephants. But by and large, the circus is fun. You take your kids to the circus. It's okay if a player's goofy and weird, and Mark Fidrich was wild. Why did we get so uptight about it? Yasiel Puig misses the cutoff man. Who gives a rip? You paid $51 for a ticket. Do you want to have fun with your kids? My kids don't give a rip about that. Stop being a stodgy old man. Yasiel Puig, Trout, Chris Barnes. These guys are fun. And by the way, A-Rod, it's like a time machine. A-Rod's the Yankees' most productive hitter. Home runs, RBIs, batting average, on-base percentage. He's first. And then, A-Rod is, you're spending all this money. Tickets cost too much for me to be a moralist. Let me be a moralist. I get my tickets for free. Okay, but you, the average fan on the street, if I'm a Yankee fan and I go to a game, $50 on average for a ticket. That's $200 for my family. Parking's $27. Heineken's $9, caramel corn is $11. You're $300 in. You just want to see somebody get hits. And your kids, by the way, they don't read Sports Illustrated perhaps, or they don't read ESPN the magazine. They don't care about the news value. They want to be entertained, and A-Rod's entertaining. So there's something right now. I remember years ago, I've told this story a few times. I was in San Diego. This was 20 years ago. And when I used to live in Vegas, Vegas is hot in the summer, so I'd go to San Diego, and Southwest Airlines was fairly new 25 years ago, and they had these, $39 flights from Vegas to San Diego. So on the weekends when I could get out of town, I'd fly to San Diego, and it was much cooler at the beach. And San Diego's a great town anyway. So I'd go to San Diego, and I come down, and the San Diego airport they just refurbished it. It's gorgeous now, but it was a truck depot for years. It was awful. So I came down the ramp, and they had a little bar or a little TV set and a place to eat, and you move past it and you go to baggage carousel. There'd be 4 or 5 baggage carousels, and everybody, it was like a Saturday, everybody was glommed at the bar just staring at the television. They're just staring at it. It's like a baseball game, and I'm like, it's a June baseball game. Who gives a rip? It was Jose Canseco. There was a time when Jose Canseco batting was national news. It was cut-in worthy. He was on fire. He was all roided up. We didn't know, but he was like King Kong. He was just jacking things out of the yard. He had these gigantic biceps, and you'd be like, you had to watch him. That's what baseball needs. It doesn't matter if Puig misses the cutoff guy. He's entertaining. God, you have so much inventory in baseball. I just want to see this kid for the Cubs. I kind of feel the same way. He's the next big thing. Is he the next Mike Trout? Is he the next? Who cares? He's entertaining. I'm all fired up. You can't blame fans. Like, a lot of times we judge fans. Well, they cheer Ray Rice, and they cheer this, and they cheer that. Have you seen the ticket prices? You know, fans just want to go to games with their kids and be entertained. It's the summer. It's hot. You want to get out of the house. Steve, you're in the herd. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Colin? Love the show.
Thanks.
I just wanted to say, ever since that letter came out from A-Rod, the apology, the thing I've been saying is I don't care if he's doing lines of blow in the dugout. As long as he's jacking home runs out, I'm happy.
Yeah. And for the record, I don't know how long it's going to last, and I don't know what he's on right now. The New York Daily News just clobbers him. I mean, they've got a complete agenda against A-Rod. Their headlines are ridiculous. But in the end, he goes up. He's a back. Look at the Yankees roster. I mean, look at that thing. I mean, look at that. Look at that. I mean, the Mets have young players that you're kind of interested in. Now, most of them will get hurt by the end of the week, but the Yankees have, it is a lean. It is the Lakers. That's why you pick up Jeremy Lin. Jeremy Lin is, I went to a Lakers game. Okay, he's entertaining. You don't have Jordan Clarkson? Come on. So you start looking around that Yankee lineup, it is Dullsville. You know, Brett Gardner, who I've always thought's a good glove guy, it's like your best athlete right now. There's not a lot there. And I think kids don't read the Mitchell Report. Kids don't care about Anthony Bosch. Kids want to go to the park and have fun with their dad, and you knock down a Heineken, they knock down. Every time I take my kids to a baseball park, they get the ice cream in the helmet. I don't give a rip about the Anthony Bosch Mitchell Report. I don't care about that stuff. Seriously, they're trying to talk their way out of homework. Last thing they want to do is read more when they get to a baseball park. I know I should be, and people say, well, Colin, you have a microphone. You should be, listen, don't hurt other people in life. Don't hurt animals, children. Be kind to people. I've always thought there's two games being played, and there's a lot more drug use than anybody wants to admit, and the takers are ahead of the testers. I just don't lose a lot of sleep over this stuff. Seriously, I've told you before, over the next 10 years, I'm going to take HGH. I've told you that. I've acknowledged it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it under a doctor's supervision, but I'm already getting creaky, and I want to do this for as long as I can because I like talking into a radio and talking to people. If I got to take HGH, brother, I'm taking it. Roger, you're in the herd. Go ahead.
Yeah, love the show. First time caller.
Cool.
I gotta tell you, bring back. I love Barry Bonds and McGuire. It got me excited. I watch baseball all the time. I could give a rip now, unless it's a home run derby of some sort. I want to be entertained. It costs too much money to go, with my kid and wife and everything else to watch a game that takes forever that never wants to end. So, I was glued to the TV set back in the day. I know that's going to bring a lot of irritable people saying, hey, what about drugs and all that? I didn't care. I just want to be entertained.
Hey, by the way, I mean, do you care how many divorces or rehab stints your Hollywood actors have? Do you really care? They're taking illegal drugs. You can get HGH at a hospital. I mean, do you really care? I mean, Charlie Sheen was quite entertaining when he was a train wrecking on stuff. I mean, I don't really care. I know I should. I know, and people get mad at me when I say this, but I think this stuff's all over sports. I mean, Robert Downey Jr.'s been back up 2 or 3 times. If you're good, perform, I'm interested. Oh, but it changes the aspect that I'm not rooting for guys to take it. I just don't lose a lot of sleep on it. When I remember years ago, it used to be creatine. 25 years ago, everybody was on creatine and what's the thing that starts with an A, the certain amino acids, and there's always something out there. Now you got the hyperbaric chambers. Everybody's doing it. The money's too great. Everybody's on something. Just entertain me. By the way, I'll tell you how many drugs I took yesterday. I'm not joking. Don't do meth.
Colin Cowherd. Looking good. Well, looking okay.
Thank you. Hold on, let me blow my nose.
the Thundering Herd podcast.
I don't root for John Wall to struggle because John Wall is exactly what I predicted he would be. When he broke into the league, I think it was his first home game in the NBA, did this moronic 30-second Dougie, which, by the way, I've had 2 NBA writers tell me that members of his own team were embarrassed about it. And one of the NBA writers is a national guy that is widely respected. Could be the best NBA writer out there, who always direct messaged me and says, anytime you talk John Wall, Colin, know that his teammates, the veterans on that team, were embarrassed by the Dougie. They were. So I went out and I said, that's all I need to know about John Wall. Great talent, but needs to grow up. That's embarrassing. And I said, you look at his family, you look at his childhood, through no fault of his own. There's a lot of chaos there. I think he's going to be a dynamic talent. I don't think he's going to be a great leader. And people were like, whoa, racial. Huh? Racial? Huh? Nothing about race, actually. I don't know where that came from. Oh, I forgot. The emerging blogosphere. But John Wall is exactly what I predicted he would be. And the blogosphere wants me to back down. Brother, it ain't ever going to happen because I nailed it. He is a dynamic, freaky, fast talent who has matured a ton but walked into this league wildly immature with regrettable judgment shown by the Dougie. And 5 years later, the only thing I don't like about him is his judgment. He's lousy late in games. He takes bad shots late in games. He's a ridiculous talent. I think he's a good kid. I really do. I think he's thoughtful. I think at the times I've heard him interviewed, he's a nice kid. He does charity. He's not selfish. I think he's a good kid. I don't blame him. I wrote about this in my first book. I don't blame him. But these people that say there is no correlation between your environment and leadership are you're clowns. You can give me the exception. Well, Barack Obama is one of the smartest guys IQ in the country. He's an academic. The average person is not an academic. And their childhood will overwhelmingly dictate strengths, liabilities, weaknesses, empowerment. And I said with John Wall, is through no fault of his own, I think he's going to be a great talent, but, boy, he had a rough childhood, and I don't know if I'm building my franchise around him. And as I wrote in my first book, when it comes to quarterbacks and point guards, sometimes I'm harsh. Deal with it. I am harsh. I'm harsh on quarterbacks. I'm harsh on point guards. You have the ball in your hands. Your judgment is crucial. I don't care about Wonderlic scores except for quarterback. I couldn't give a rip about Wonderlic scores except for quarterback. You score in the teens, I'm not drafting you. Jameis Winston, I don't care about his issues except that he's a quarterback. I really don't. That crab stuff and that yelling stuff, if he's a wide receiver or a safety, I don't give a rip. He's a quarterback. I give a rip. So, yeah, the blogosphere, and they so desperately want to marginalize you, and you need to apologize. John Wall's exactly what I said he would be. A wildly, freakishly dynamic, energetic point guard. Tons of talent. I don't like his judgment. 5 years into the league, I still don't trust him late in games with the ball. Just don't trust him. For the record, has he grown up? Yeah, we all do. We all do. I'm not questioning that. But when I watch John Wall play, and I always get these, Colin, when are you gonna apologize? I'm not gonna apologize for it. I was right. He's never gonna be a guy I'd build my franchise around. Not gonna be that guy. But I think he's talented. I think he's freaky. I think he's very Iverson-esque. He's like the fastest guy on the floor, and he takes over games. And he has really good spells. He can be a little hot and cold, but when he's on, and he's great. And they're not going to lose because of John Wall anymore. Like, if they lose, you can't blame John Wall. But I don't love his judgment. I still don't love it. I think he takes bad shots late in games. I think he takes bad shots. And I think they'll win this series. 5 years in, I think they'll get their second playoff win. Toronto will give them a little pushback. It'll go 6, but I think Washington will win. Yeah, his three-point percent went down this year. No, he's not a three-point shooter. He's not. That's not his thing. He's about a 43%. He's a career 43% shooter. And by the way, he should be higher because he gets a lot of fast break freebies. But he takes some bad shots. He takes bad shots. But that's who he is. You judge them harshly. Yeah, I do. Point guards, quarterbacks. Yep. You can turn off anytime, unfollow on Twitter. You have every right to. I'm not begging you to stay. But I'm not backing down from that. It's not going to happen.
where Colin was right.
Yeah, I was. You're going to have to deal with that one. Yeah, he is dynamic, iffy judgment. Sorry. And he has matured. Yeah, absolutely. I was saying this about drugs, and, like A-Rod. Like, a lot of times, we're all judgmental about drug users in sports, but I get up every morning, and I'm a drug user, right? I have caffeine, and then at night I always have a cocktail, and I'm on a pill or two, and I have an enhanced protein powder that Bill Romanowski makes me. It's probably got something in there that's crazy, cray-cray. So I got Romo powder, I got caffeine, I got a couple pills, and I have a shot every night of vodka. By the way, so Sumner Redstone, he's like 180 and still owns Viacom, so that's why I do a shot of vodka every night. Like Russian guys, honestly, look at them. They could lift a forest on their shoulders. You've never met a Russian guy who wasn't strong? I mean, all of them. And all they do is they wake up and have vodka. So I have a shot of vodka. What's so funny, Stanzik? I have a shot.
This music kills me.
No,
you really have a drink every night?
You have a problem with that?
I don't. I was just asking.
You're a jerk every day. I have a drink of vodka every night, okay?
Is it actually a shot or you pour it into something?
By those definitions, I do sound a little like an addict.
An alcoholic addict? You got a lot cooking up there.
No, I do, but I do caffeine in the morning. I do Bill Romanowski protein powder.
You just made him Russian.
And I know it's got all crazy stuff. I mean, I'm not saying it's illegal, but Romo's got stuff in there. It's like Popeye juice. And then I take a pill or two, and then I have a shot of vodka at night because I love Russians. And so in the end, even the Russian fighters in the NHL, it's like they got an extra punch. It's called unicorn powder. That Bill Romanowski's got. It's ground up unicorn. That's what I have every morning. I have ground up unicorn.
So wait, you're taking his powder, but you won't do the hyperbaric chamber?
It's not going to happen. See, you idiots think that I fall for your little radio stunts. So whenever I get into something, I can see Vince is working. It's like, hey, let's have him sleep in a hyperbolic. We'll get big digital numbers. I'm not doing that anymore. I don't get paid for my digital numbers.
All you have to do is nap. It's really not. We're not asking a lot out of you. I know you're getting up there. I know you're freaking out. All you got to do is go to sleep. Just lay down.
How many drugs do you take a day? If you counted caffeine.
Probably just that. That's probably it.
You don't drink at night?
No, I'm not an alcoholic like you taking a drink of vodka every night. No.
No, I'm telling you right now, if you talk to Dr. Oz and all the medical experts, they'll tell you, knock down a shot of vodka. See that right there? Pow. So that comes from there. Stoli approved. I don't have a problem saying that on the air. I really don't. I think all this stuff, everybody's on something. Vince just gave me something here a second ago. Prescription use is up like 39% in the last 5 years. Every time I go when's the last time you went to the pharmacy and there wasn't a line out the door? The health food store, crickets. Go to the pharmacy, line around the block, all getting pills. I'm telling you, I'm a mixer away from being on celebrity rehab. I really am. I never thought about it until now. I may be circling the drain. I maybe have to pull back a little. Anybody got Dr. Drew's number? That unicorn powder Romanowski sent, though, God, every time I take that in the morning, I'm not kidding you, man. I feel like a giant. That Romo powder is incredible. Well, it's lean1.com, right? He puts a little extra juice in mine, little ground up unicorn. That thing.
You're making it seem like he's in your kitchen making it.
No, but Bill can do special stuff for me. There's horse meat in there, and he does some special stuff for me. It's rainbows and unicorns in powder form. All right. I was off for a week, and I'm a little uncentered. I've got to be honest with you. Usually I have rants, and I'm kind of just.
You look pretty tan. Were you in a tanning bed?
Yeah, no, it was in Florida. It's already summer there. I left Saturday. It was like 89 and humid. It was already Kenya. It's April 15th, and it was a steamer.
ESPN Radio, bringing you directly to the biggest events in sports.
Center field, well hit, Hunter back, out of here!
From opening day of baseball.
Throw to the plate. Safe at the plate.
Right through the World Series.
For the third time in 5 seasons, the San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
Whether it's LeBron, Chris Paul, or Kevin Durant, when the NBA tips off, ESPN Radio is right there when a champion is crowned.
We have a new world champion. The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
And when the magic of bowl season arrives, ESPN Radio is your home for the new college football playoff.
The college football playoff first national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
The biggest events in sports can be found right here on ESPN Radio.
Here I was watching the NBA playoffs, thinking it's going to lead my show, and then Tim Tebow signs a 1-year contract with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I thought, let's go to the guy that knows the Eagles like nobody else, Sal Paolantonio. So let's start, Sal, with Tebow to the Eagles. Do you think he makes the opening day roster?
I think he does. I think he has a seriously good shot of being the third quarterback on Chip Kelly's roster. Now, but, Colin, the big question is, who are the other 2 quarterbacks? So I'm going to go back at you. I'm going to say one of them's going to be Sanchez.
Yes.
The other is either Sam Bradford or Marcus Mariota. You pick.
What are you saying there? What's going on there?
Oh, you like that. Right back at the CC band.
So
I don't think Chip Kelly's done. I don't think he's done. I think this guy is the ultimate gambler. You know, somebody yesterday on the internet inducted Chip Kelly into the off-season Hall of Fame. You know, obviously, that's not a place you want to be because the other members of that Hall of Fame are Rex Ryan and Daniel Snyder. And I was an ouch babe situation right there. And people reacted very angrily on Twitter in Philadelphia because people still, at this point, believe in Chip, A, and believe that unless and until Marcus Mariota is holding up a Tennessee Titans jersey on draft day, they will not believe that Chip Kelly is done getting a chance to draft Mariota. And I agree with them.
Yeah. How often do you deal with Chip Kelly personally?
You know, during the season quite a bit. I interact with him personally one-on-one very rarely. Obviously, I've seen him at press conferences. I saw him at the owners' meetings. Before the game, I like to get to the stadium real early. I'm one of those guys. And I go to the link early because I know that Chip Kelly is going to be out there with the groundskeepers checking out the turf very early on. He's going to be at the stadium and he runs the steps. So that's where I get my one-on-one time with him. I like the guy.
Do you?
I do. He doesn't have much time for the media, though, Colin. He's not a guy who likes to cozy up to reporters.
I know. I don't know him. I know people around him, but I left Oregon by the time he got there, so I only had contacts. I like him. I think he's a contrarian thinker. I think he's one of those people that is willing to kind of, chase his own dreams and do his own thing. But Philadelphia is a city of tradition and history, political history, sports history. It's not a contrarian city. It's not San Francisco. It is not Los Angeles. And I just wonder, let's say they go 9-7 this year. Are people going to start bailing on him because his plan is a very different than your typical NFL plan?
Yeah, I like a coach that's chasing his dreams but not chasing his tail. And I think that that's the reaction here in Philadelphia. What do we got here? I agree with you. There's a lot of what do we have here. But I think there's still a lot of people, won 20 games in his first 2 seasons, yes, has not won a playoff game. Team hasn't won one since they traded Donovan McNabb, on Easter Sunday 5 years ago. So, listen, people in Philadelphia may be traditionalists, but they're starving. You got a basketball team tanking for the 3rd year in a row. You got a baseball team hitting 166.
Yeah, they're awful.
You got a hockey team that just fired its coach. You got a football team that's in a division that's got the Giants with a bushel of Super Bowl trophies, the Redskins, the Dallas Cowboys, They're the only team in the division without a Super Bowl trophy. It's something that they are reminded of every single day. They don't like it, and they want one, and they think Chip Kelly can get them one, but they are a little skeptical about this situation right now because he's got 3 quarterbacks on the roster who have the 3 lowest QBRs in the NFL in the last 5 years. The history on Tebow is very, very onerous. It's bad.
Right.
I like the guy. You want that guy in your locker room.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, do you think Tom House fixed Tim Tebow?
No.
If that's the case, Colin, don't you think there'd be at least 6 or 7 other teams taking a look at Tim Tebow?
Sal, nothing against Tom House, but I never buy into this Tom House solves things. I mean, Tebow's issues weren't just arm. He was, he didn't read the field particularly well. We're making it out to be, now I think his arm was a big problem, but I didn't think Tim had a great feel for an NFL pocket. That was my take. Some guys like Russell Wilson.
Now, exactly what you just said. You're right. Tim Tebow did not have a great feel for an NFL pocket. In Chip Kelly's offense, you don't have to have any feel for an NFL pocket. And here's what I think happened. I think Chip Kelly's doing a favor for Urban Meyer. I think Chip Kelly likes Tim Tebow, and he said, all right, I'll bring him in. He'll compete for the 3rd quarterback spot. If he can't make that, he can't make the team because he can't play special teams. The Jets figure that out. The Patriots figured that out. So we'll have him around. He's a good guy to have around. He'll know how to run this offense. We'll see how he does. He's better than Barkley when he gets out of bed. So why don't we have him compete for the 3rd quarterback spot? But having said all of that, I don't think the man's finished. I think he's still pursuing Mariota.
It sounds like to me you don't think Sam Bradford will ever take a snap in Philly.
If he gets Mariota, he won't. Bradford will be part of a draft day package, a trade package with somebody somehow. I just think, having watched this guy operate, if he is who you say he is, a coach who's chasing his dream, Mariota has been his dream ever since he was coaching in Oregon. Everybody knows. Recruited the guy, loved the guy. When he first met with Joe Banner, when Joe Banner was the GM of the Browns, and the Browns were looking for a head coach at the same time that the Eagles were, when Reed was fired, and the Browns were looking for a head coach, and Banner was in charge. Chip Kelly went to see him. And Banner tells the story about Kelly saying Mariota will win, quote, multiple Super Bowls in the NFL. That's what he told Banner. And Banner's been telling everybody this story. If you believe a quarterback can win multiple Super Bowls, if you believe that in your heart and your intellect, you do everything in your power to get him. So I don't think he's done. I think he's going to try to get him. If he can't get him, Sam Bradford will start.
That was good stuff today. How are the boys down at Cell Block C? All your guys, your bettors, your gambler guys. What do they do in the off season? Do they bet hockey or something?
I don't check in with them until the football season starts. It's not good for my health.
Yeah. Does anybody actually bet hockey? I don't know. It's pretty much a football betting world.
Not in Philadelphia, that's for sure.
Want more of the Herd? The Thundering Herd Podcast.
Funny, the NFL has moved the draft, the combine. They move all this stuff, and they're the first to admit they called teams regarding Michael Sam in the NFL draft. Rams had 4 7th-round picks. It's kind of funny how they pick up Tim Tebow. And by the way, NBA playoffs this weekend, first big weekend, Monday the Tebow comes out. Tuesday they release the schedule tomorrow night. You don't think they're doing that to go after the NBA? Hell yeah, they're doing it. And then next week, the draft. I mean, it's so obvious to me. Monday, the Tebow story. Tuesday, they release the NFL schedule. Wednesday, we'll break it down on the air. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the big NBA talk days, NFL's got Tebow, schedule release, schedule talk. Then we'll get into a draft next weekend. They are masters at crashing the party. Herd brought to you by TrueCar. Save time and money. Never overpay. Download the TrueCar app today. So I finished my book. It's coming out like October 1st, right? It's getting edited now. Yeah, well, that's not breaking news, but my book's coming out. You'll be able to get it on Amazon.com and stuff. So I've done books and radio and TV, and, I'm always looking for new stuff. I tried to write a pilot, didn't get picked up by CBS. So one of the things I've thought about, my wife's very game for this because she's a creative. She thinks she's funny, sharp, funny. And I said, one of the things I've thought about doing is I think the reality genre is pretty interesting. If you can keep it pithy and quick and not do too much overexposure. But I told my wife I'm thinking about hiring a production company and putting a few lipstick cams in cars and at my house and in different places in my life and doing it'd be very highly edited. It'd be smartly edited. It wouldn't just be schlock. I'd lose money on it probably, but it'd be interesting. Like this 2.5-minute, 3-minute max weekly reality thing. And why would you do that? You cannot believe how fascinated people are with behind-the-scenes stuff. It is remarkable. When we used to shoot behind-the-scenes stuff for this radio show, people were like vultures, and I didn't really understand it. I didn't really get it. But there's a reason reality works. People like behind-the-scenes stuff. That's why Insider's stuff on our website does very well. People like – my first book was a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. This book is a ton of behind-the-scenes stuff that I can't talk about on radio. All that stuff, people have a voracious appetite for it. I can't explain it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So Stanzik, I'm going to do lipstick cams. I'm going to hire a production company, and I think I'm going to go that way and do. And by the way, who gives a rip? The blogs will rip it up. It's just free publicity. Let them eat it up. But I think I'm going to do it. And my wife, she's like, all right, that's fine.
I mean, Colin, all I would say is we got tours going by like 5 a day just looking in. I feel like a fish in a fishbowl. People love it. I don't know what.
They're sometimes you have to follow the lead of the public. Like, I'm not into stuff, but the public's into stuff. And it's like, I'm going to see what it looks like. I think I'm going to tape about 50 hours.
Is there some waiver that I have to sign?
No, you may not be in it. It may mostly be my wife yelling at me. It may
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be that kind of stuff.
Is it going to be scripted or is it going to be real? Are people playing the cameras?
No, I'm not going to play the cameras. That's not my thing. No, I don't think I'll script it. I'd have to hire by the way, those things are scripted. Like Survivor.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, like Kardashians. Like yesterday I was in the grocery store. Kanye's dumping Kim. And there was a Bruce Jenner story about his life. All that stuff. They're feeding those. They've done a brilliant job of making something out of nothing because nobody has any really discernible talent. I mean, seriously, Kanye does. But, after Kanye, what do the Kardashians do? They're famous. So, they've done a great job to manipulate, sort of like we tweak the blogs. They've done a great job to manipulate those grocery store rags that you see by the checkout. They're in those things every week. Well, they're doing that. They're manipulating them. They're leaking stuff. They're paying people to leak stuff to them. Then they run with it. It's a big game, and they've done a masterful job. The Globe, the National Enquirer, they're dying for Kardashian because the Kardashians clearly it sells, or those magazines wouldn't put them on the cover. Now, I don't know the name of I don't have a name. I was going to call my little reality thing when I do it here, and I'm not going to do it in the next week or month. It's something I'm going to hire a company, shoot some. I was going to call it Herd Gone Wild. Wife didn't like that one. I don't know what I'm going to call. I don't really know what I'm going to call it. Keeping Up with It, no. Behind the Cowherd Curtain, no. The Cowherd Chronicles, that's not terrible. So there you go. We'll see how it works. I'm going to shoot a lot of hours, and if it's I've been watching a lot of it lately. Is American Idol taken? Did anybody ever use that? I could be called American Idol. Was that taken? By the way, for all you people banging on Chip Kelly, so look at this. Everybody's criticizing Chip Kelly for getting Tim Tebow. I went to the NFL, and I highlighted every team that won more games than the Philadelphia Eagles last year with Nick Foles and Mark Sanchez. Here are the quarterbacks of the teams that had a better record than Philadelphia last year, and they had Foles and Sanchez. Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Matt Stafford, Tony Romo, and Aaron Rodgers. Those are all considered A-level talents at quarterback. Now, Stafford's mechanics are hit and miss. Romo doesn't have a lot of playoff wins. There you go. The only exception to that is Arizona, and Bruce Arians is considered, a really, really high-end coach. Matt, you're in the herd. So I'm a supporter of Chip Kelly. I think he's contrarian and knows what he's doing, and most people aren't contrarian, so they judge him. But he's gone 20-12 with Foles and Sanchez. To me, name another coach in the last 5 years outside of maybe Jim Harbaugh and Alex Smith that's won that many games with C quarterbacks. It just doesn't happen in this league. Matt, you're in the herd. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Chip Kelly's a smart guy. I'm here in South Jersey, and I hear a lot of stuff all the time. I always tell people follow the smart guy, and I think Chip Kelly's about as smart as they come. But I think a lot of people are looking at Tim Tebow saying all wrong. I mean, the biggest problem in Philadelphia the last 5-6 years has been red zone, and now they got an awesome red zone threat. Imagine the backfield with Tim Tebow, Darren Sproles, and DeMarco Murray inside the 10-yard line. I mean, it's a pretty. I think that's what he's going to be, the starting red zone quarterback. I think that's what he's going to be.
Yeah, I don't. Matt, I don't know. It's very disruptive to have Sam Bradford lead you down the field and then say, "Hey, Sam, we want to score touchdowns. Beat it." Psychologically, that doesn't really work. I think what you can have him is an occasional disruptor, that he comes in red zone situations. But just think of the psychology of it. I mean, Sam, we appreciate that 11-play drive. We're at the 2. Scram. That doesn't play well for your starting quarterback. You think Brady would like that? You think Aaron Rodgers would like that? I don't buy into this, hey, Tebow comes in, all the goal line situations. No, I think you can have him as a backup. He's a hard worker. If you've got to put him in occasionally, but your starting quarterback's your starting quarterback. This idea you can just ship him to the sidelines in crisis, they did that a couple of times with the Jets where, Sanchez, they pull him out, third down, Tebow. It's just disruptive. It doesn't work. I mean, I know you people love Tebow, but he's never going to be a starting franchise quarterback in this league. It's not going to happen. You just gotta get over it. It's not going to happen. He can start. He can fill in. He can make some plays, but everybody's got these ideas that, well, can he do this and can he do that? You're not going to yank your starting quarterback at the end of drives all the time. That's not going to play well. Then after the game, you're going to go to Sam Bradford as a Philadelphia reporter. What do you make of you getting yanked at the end of every drive? And then you got to answer that question. You're just blowing up locker rooms doing that stuff.
Check out The Herd with Colin Cowherd weekdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and on ESPNU. The Thundering Herd Podcast. Baseball's best go head-to-head in interleague action when the Tigers head to St. Louis to face the Cardinals. The pregame at 7 Eastern, first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Radio.